Cancer warning labels on alcohol. Looks like this will be a reality in the next few years. The 2021 Bordeaux vintage. Jancis Robinson weighs in. That's not good. And let's take a walk down Napa's memory lane, shall we? All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. Hello and welcome to episode 32 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, February 24th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Cork and Journey, your number one source for corkage fees, wine reviews, winery reviews, restaurant reviews, and more. And with that, let's get right on into the show, shall we? All right. Well, Wine Business has got an article about WHO, the World Health Organization, calling for warning labels on alcohol. And this all happened on Valentine's Day this year. It's the World Health Organization Europe, mandatory warning labels, and from Wine Business, Felicity Carter reports. Prominent health warning labels on alcoholic beverages are essential for rising awareness that consuming alcohol can lead to cancer. In a report released today, Alcohol Health Warning Labels, a Public Health Perspective of Europe, the WHO calls for mandatory labeling of prominent labels for cancer warnings on everything, pretty much. And yet, you throw all this together with a recent report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine that says moderate drinkers have lower all-cause mortality than non-drinkers, and all-cause mortality means total number of deaths in a population from any cause. But when it comes to cancer, the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine reported that with moderate certainty that consuming a moderate amount of alcohol is associated with a higher risk of breast cancer. So, drink a little alcohol, you'll live longer or have less mortality than others, but you might get breast cancer. Anyway, the things you see on cigarette labels are pretty much coming to alcohol anytime soon here. And that's followed up with a kind of a detailed article over at Decanter, which is called The Failure of the Surgeon General, Eliza Dumais, on the irrelevance of warning labels. And this is just kind of a big breakdown of really the reason people quit smoking wasn't because of the warning labels on cigarettes. And she's got a great paragraph in here. I think it leads it off where it says, "My cigarette principles are as follows. I only smoke after midnight or, in France, whereby packs of Marlboro Gold come plastered with close-up shots of blackened lungs or chains of rotten teeth. And yes, while I belong to the absolute lowest common denominator of smoker, neither debaucherous enough to lean in nor righteous enough to properly abstain, my point is that such warning labels, even at their most graphic, have done little to scare me off, even sans the chemical draw of the addiction." And that's kind of what it comes down to, is that, these warning labels will be on there. I guess people will be happy. Whether they pay any attention to them or not, who knows? And man, it's a tenuous link. It's a moderate certainty. It's a maybe. It's kind of one of these kind of things. And let's face it, if you drink too much, your alcohol, there's nothing good about that. But moderate drinkers of wine, a few glasses a week or whatever, I'm not so sure. But anyway, labels are coming. What I would like to see, and we've talked about it before, is a really detailed label as to what's in the beverage. Like when you get a bottle of Coke, it tells you everything that's in there. On the wine, I would like to know the details. What was it aged in? Did they add sulfites? What's the sugar level? Were there any other? Did they throw mega purple in there? Was it aged in oak barrels, or did they use oak dust to get some oak flavor to it? Really details as to, hey, here's what's in the bottle, every single thing you want to know about it. And accurate alcohol. That's the other thing. I don't know. When you see an alcohol level on a bottle of wine, they have a 1.5% that they can be off. So you see something that says 14.5, it could be 16. It could be 13, not gonna be, but so let's get some real accurate labeling as to the ingredients of wine so you can look at it and go, hey man, this is pretty much natural wine. Organic grapes, all it's in here is grapes. They did some yeast, they fermented it in barrels. They added here's the dose of sulfite they added to preserve it. That's it. So Anyway, those would be the labels worth seeing on all alcoholic beverages. Anyway, and with that, let's get right into a quick plug for our buddies over at SOMM TV. If you aren't familiar with SOMM TV, well, you should be. If you're into wine, if you're watching this, you probably are into wine. Anyway, just absolutely amazing content. New stuff released every week. You can do vineyard tours. They do blind tastings. They take you through various regions. It's just fantastic. Shout out to the people over at SOMM TV. And if you click the link down below, you get 50% off your monthly subscription. I think it's going to cost you $3.49 a month or something like that. So check out SOMM TV. And also a quick shout out to our buddy Rex Pickett. He's the guy who wrote the book Sideways. And anyway, if you head over to rexpickettbooks.com, and you click on the link and you put in the Cork 10 as your code, well, guess what? You're going to get 10% off your entire order. He's got 4 books, 5 books actually. He'll autograph it. He's got posters, all that kind of stuff. So check out rexpickettbooks.com. And with that, let's move on with the rest of the news. All right. Well, Jancis Robinson has an article over at jancisrobinson.com called Bordeaux, to head for or avoid. Well, let's just get right into it. Her and a group of 20 wine professionals got together and blind tasted through 157 wines from the 2021 Bordeaux vintage, and they were not impressed. To quote, at last month's tasting of 2021's, the lesser wines of Appellation Saint-Emilion and Medoc absolutely demonstrated why the wine drinkers of the world have fallen out of love with Bordeaux. These wines lack fruit and tasted bone dry and charmless. Even the finest 2021s, such as some of those listed below, are clearly inferior to their counterparts that produced in the 2019, 2020, and 22 vintages, which are the 3 of Bordeaux's finest this century. So, hey, 19, 20 great, 22 great, 21 was a miss. I will tell you that we had a bottle of Domaine de Chevalier 2021 Grand Cru. We shouldn't have opened it. 3 of these, we opened one just to see how it would be just 3-4 years in. And man, it was pretty much undrinkable. It was miserable. Ended up dumping most of it out. So anyway, it just not there yet. And so, give it another 10 years. We'll see what it's like. But you got to start asking yourself, you paid $80, $100, $200, $300. Do you really want to sit on these things for 10, 15 years and hope that they might be good? And from the look of it, or from the sound of it, and just all the tasting notes I'm reading, 2021 Bordeaux, no, just kind of stay away. Maybe they shouldn't even have bottled them. And on a kind of a cool story, VinePair has an illustrated timeline of Napa's most famous cabs. The article could be titled "A Brief History of Napa's Most Well-Known Wineries." Either way, this is a nice read for those that are just learning or need a quick refresher. From Heights in 1966 to McDonald in 2010, all the big names are here. And while the list doesn't include every important Napa winery, it features many of the region's most famed and sought-after bottles. Read on to discover the Napa cabs that made the region it is today in chronological order of release. Kind of interesting going through the list, because out of the gate, you got Heights Cellar in 1966, Momoyama in 71. Momoyama was at the Judgment in Paris. We've talked about this several times, but if you haven't read George Tabor's book, Judgment of Paris, California versus France, this is a great read. It's just, he was there. He was the only reporter that showed up, and just has absolutely fantastic about all of these wines that were in that 1976 blind tasting by Stephen Spurrier. Anyway, so Momoyama gets pointed out there. Mondavi not in there, but yes, they're mass produced. Constellation Brands owns them now. They make a lot of wines, a lot of bulk wines. You can pick Mondavi up for super cheap inside a grocery store, or a grocery store pretty much anywhere, but they also make absolutely outstanding wines still to this day. This is the 2019 Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon, 2 Column Vineyards. Killer wine. If you like big Napa cabs that, are the 150, 200 range, well, that's one you could look at there. Stag's Leap, also in the Judgment of Paris. Chateau Montelena, this article's about cabs, but they were in the Judgment of Paris. They won top prize for their Chardonnay. And that Chardonnay was made by Mike Gergich. And if you haven't read his book, A Glass Full of Miracles, he just passed away last year, I think at 105 years old. Just a great, you can go to Corkage Vineyards too, Corkage Hills, I think it is, and check out all of his stuff. But we're talking some really, really great stuff here. Again, that was 76. Camus is in there. They've kind of fallen out. Chuck Wagner, they were a superstar. They're not, critics don't seem to love them anymore. Dunn Vineyards, Opus One, which again is Mondavi and Rothschild getting together and basically doing Opus. You can't touch this stuff for under $400 or $500 a bottle. Dominus Estates, great story about Dominus. I bought a bottle of Dominus, never had it before, special occasion. My wife and I are out to dinner. We actually had a Ritz-Carlton down in Palm Springs, California, Rancho Mirage, wherever it was out there, and brought it in. And I said, hey, if you could do me a favor, it's been sitting in our room. If you could just kind of chill this down to cellar temperature for me, that'd be great. I dropped it off a couple hours before dinner, and they said, sure, no problem. So I figured they're going to just put it in their cellar and bring it down to proper temperature. And when we show up at our table, they escort us to us and they have it in a ice bucket. That's great. Yes. So now we had to kind of reverse it, take it out and try to let the temperature rise. Anyway, not great. Anyway, Dalaval Vineyards, Corson, Streaming Eagle. That's some expensive wine. Harlan Estate, also some expensive wine. Ghost Horse, 100 Acres, another expensive. Schrader Cellars. Bought 3 bottles of their Double Diamond, which a couple of years ago, Wine Spectator made their wine of the year. It's the 2019 Cabernet Sauvignon, Oakville, Double Diamond. Well, it's very similar to the Bordeaux story. We've had one, and I'm not going to open it because it was not a great experience out of the gate. So let's hope that gets a little better as time goes on. Anyway, Scarecrow in 2003, and then the latest big name, McDonald, in 2010. But honestly, great list, kind of nice little refresher course, kind of going through everything, but really interesting history of Napa and some of the main top producers in Napa Valley. So worth checking out. And then we got one more story here because we've been talking lately so much about, hey, how the wine industry is suffering, what's happening in the wine industry. Well, Cyril Penn, he is the editor over at Wine Business Monthly, winebusiness.com. And if you don't subscribe to it, you really should. Anyway, really did an in-depth look, interviewing lots of heads of various corporations that are all involved in the wine industry and saying, look, where are we at? How do we get here? Big takeaways are inventory levels are good at retail and almost back to normal distribution in warehouses. The number of servings per occasion has dropped and is the single most important factor behind the overall decline in sales. So it's not that people have stopped drinking. The number of drinkers is the same. It's just they're not drinking as much, which maybe isn't a bad thing. So read up on what we talked about earlier. And the focus on premiumization in the wine industry has made a niche product even more. And that kind of is really the big takeaways. But if you read through this article, there are some just great quotes in here. So Jeff O'Neill, who's the CEO of O'Neill Vintners and Distillers, says, "We did hit an iceberg here, and nobody saw it coming. We didn't see it soon enough." Well, so you saw it, but you didn't turn. I don't know. And then Stephanie Gallo, who you might guess works for Gallo, she's the chief marketing officer, says, "We're going to continue on our quest to win new for our new friends of wine. We're going to innovate with new brands. We're committed to introducing new products that are designed to make entry level into the wine category more accessible, at more accessible price points." That whole quote's a mess if you read it in the article. I think there's something wrong there. But anyway, you get the idea. On the other hand, if you read down through the article, it's like, hey, man, we've got too many brands. We need to get rid of them. And then we need to have more consolidation. And, maybe we should just get rid of all these little brands that are cluttering our portfolio. And there are too many of them. So it's still all over the map, but we're taking a look at this article, and I wanted to point it out. I kind of missed it, but it was in the February issue of Wine Business Monthly, that big old magazine, if you get it, and worth reading through for sure. And with that, let's get over to our wine and winery of the week. All right. Well, if you were in the Santa Marina Valley and you're basically heading down the whole sideways trail there, I would suggest that you stop by Foxen Vineyard and Winery. There's two wineries here, two tasting rooms. One is the old one called The Shack, and then up the road from it a little bit is kind of their new modern tasting room. Well, we were on a 20th reunion sideways tour with Rex, and this was where the film was shot. This was one of the tasting rooms that Jack and Miles were in. So we went to this one. I'd suggest probably going up the street, going to that one, because this one just had a couple outhouses out there. But it was very nice. I mean, the wines were great. The setting's great. It's beautiful outdoors. It's kind of very, it's very rustic. But the outhouses do need to be cleaned more. But anyway, really, really, really nice. Nice tasting room, kind of worth it all the way around. And you'll know the wines that kind of were there. It's the Foxen 7200 because part of the address that goes into it. But good stuff. And with that, we'll talk about our wine of the week, which is going to be the Foxen Cabernet Franc. This was all right. I think we gave it 87 points. Vivino gives it 4.2. It's developing, but not so bad. But we'd done a review on it, so I dropped it in here as well. I will tell you, haven't done a review of this yet, but we had tasted it. And this is the Foxen 7200 Los Potreros Cabernet Sauvignon. It's from Happy Canyon. This is very good. So, everybody can't win on everything, but 87 is not bad. It was very drinkable. I didn't have to dump it out as I did with the Domaine des Chevaliers. So it's got that going for it. But check out, if you're out there, might want to stop by both tasting rooms. Anyway, that's a beautiful drive through that canyon anyway. So check it out. And with that, let's head over to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. Momoyama. No, I didn't say Yo Mama. I said Momoyama. It's in Fountain Valley, California. And man, did we stumble into this one. UK doesn't even have a sign outside. We had to go down there, actually left Las Vegas, drove in Orange County for one meeting, had to turn around the next morning and leave. So we got in at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We left at 8 o'clock the next morning. And after we did our little meeting, well, guess what? We wanted somewhere to eat. And I did a quick search and stumbled across Momoyama in Fountain Valley. This is an omakase place. It is absolutely phenomenal. We talked about Rebel Omakase, which got a Michelin star. It's out in Laguna Beach. This was as good, if not better. I mean, we were blown away. The service was amazing. The chefs were friendly. The staff was great. And it is in this just dinky little strip mall. They don't even have a sign. It's like between just two places. And we sat in the parking lot and said, we must have the wrong address. But it is worth the adventure. It is worth trying to find it. Head chef Eddie is just great. Our sushi, we had sushi chef Yoshi. I mean, these people are personal. They are fun. They are engaging. The entire staff, Danielle and Ryan, everybody that was there, they care. And their service was outstanding. They need a star. They should get a star. I know they made like the guide, like as recognized, but that was in 2023, not the last year. Hey, guys, Michelin guide, stop back in here. $200 a head. Expensive, but what you're getting is absolutely crazy. Just well worth the time, well worth the price. Man, but show up hungry because it just goes on and on and on. So you might want to skip lunch. We were there. We got to keep eating. I just walked out of there. I was so stuffed. It was crazy. But man, if you like sushi, you like Japanese, you like omakase, and you happen to be in Fountain Valley, California, which is kind of northern Orange County, worth checking it out. Fantastic stuff. Congrats to those guys over there. And their corkage fee is only $35 per bottle. They do have a 2-bottle max. It can't be on their wine list. Their wine list wasn't that extensive, so odds are it's not going to be on their wine list. And their wine list was very reasonably priced. So you can't really lose either way. But at $35 a bottle, really reasonable corkage fee. So, bring a big white in there that's got some serious acid to it that's going to work with sushi, and you're going to be in good shape. Or order off their menu. Nice sake menu, by the way. So anyway, with that, we're going to wrap up the show. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. As always, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on YouTube, and then follow us on X and Instagram and everywhere else. Again, thank you so much. Cheers, everybody. See you next week.